Welcome to Codex, History of Video Games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I am Tyler Osby.
And today, we're kind of nearing the end of Jacked, the Outlaw story of Grand Theft Auto. So these are the penultimate chapters of the book.
That's true.
Did I use that correctly?
You did.
That's how it works. Hell yeah. Okay, so we're once again talking about the most controversial period in Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar history, hot coffee. Okay,
we are about at the end of that stage.
We are about at the end of the hot
deal
coffee.
with the aftermath here.
Yeah, there's a lot of aftermath to hot coffee, and we'll get into that. We'll get into our friend Jack Thompson. Friend? Sure. We'll get into our friends Sam and Dan Hauser. Ooh,
we love those guys.
We do love those guys. And then we will do an ending episode next week where we talk about like the last chapter and the epilogue, and then we kind of give our thoughts on the book too. Right?
We're gonna have to do a whole analysis.
Yes, an analysis, exactly.
Which will be fun and exciting to talk about. I love this period of time because it is a period of time in video game history that like I remember very well. Like I was plugged into the news at that point in time when I was like 14, 15 years old probably. I was like plugged in. I like knew what was going on as it was happening. So it's like fun and makes me feel kind of old to like be talking about this as ancient history because it was 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. And I'm like, oh, I remember something from 20 years ago. I feel old.
Yeah, dude. What's weird is I think, okay, this was like 2006, 2007. So I was 18 and I was all caught up in high school shenanigans is how I would put it. So I don't think I really followed this along very much at the time. I did play San Andreas, but I just didn't know about the news at the time.
Yeah, I was following it pretty closely at the time, and I got all swept up in the anti-Jack Thompson fervor. Which I still don't like him, but because I know I've been a little bit more sympathetic towards him in more recent episodes, but I'm not really.
Well, you're about to get unsympathetic towards him
because
in chapter 24 is where I'm going to talk about his downfall, beginning of his downfall.
Sure.
I guess I should put it. Yeah.
Yeah, his Godfather Part 3.
His Godfather Part 3, exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
He should never have taken that person out on a boat.
That's right. Yep.
That was Godfather 2, wasn't it? With the boat scene? Pretty sure.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's been a long time since I've seen The Godfathers. Also, video games based off of those, so we could do that one time.
That's true. We should, actually. Okay. So let's get into chapter 21 here of Jacked. This one is called Adults Only. So this one's like kind of a shorter chapter, and it details Jack Thompson putting together a coalition of folks on his side to start fighting against Rockstar. He enlists the help of a psychologist with whom he has had ties to for a while. This person's name is David Walsh. He'll come up later on as part of the downfall. He's from the National Institute of Media and Family. And these two had long agreed on the ways that video games can affect kids and the culture war stuff that Jack Thompson had built his career on. Like David Walsh sort of has the data that Jack Thompson uses to be like, see, they're training our kids to be killers, right? But even at this point in time, even Walsh is starting to get a little bit skeptical. He's like, okay, yeah, I did this work and like I show that there's like some correlation here. But Jack, buddy, you're looking into this way too far. Like you are drawing more conclusions than this data supports. But he's like, but overall, like you're still generally right, and I still generally support you. So he still persevered here. He helped Jack out, right?
It's like David does the science and the research and won't. You know when you talk to a scientist about something and they will like not. You'll be like, oh, like that, and they'll be like, no, not really.
Yeah,
because it's like they want to be precise with their language and what something is and what they know to be true. I think David Walsh is more like, no, this doesn't mean violence causes video games. It means that violence on top of other factors can contribute to having like a problematic childhood and stuff. Yeah. And that's what his science is saying. Also, which I think is responsible.
I think you're right. And I also cannot let it go that you said violence causes video games.
Man, violence causes video games. That's so funny. I'm going to be honest with folks. Okay, let me look into the camera while I say this. I am nursing an ear infection right now. I am doing my best, okay? So I'm going to say other things wrong this episode, too. And I just need you all to bear with me.
I didn't mean to call you out. I just thought it was funny, and I didn't want to let it go because other people are going to hear that and go, wait a minute. Did he just say that?
Dude, that's what we're going to clip because that gets engagement. If I say a word wrong, if I say something stupid, that's what people like to point out on TikTok.
The algorithm loves it.
the algorithm loves saying things. Let's say things wrong more often this episode to try to get some stuff. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So Jack Thompson has David Walsh on his side here a bit, even though David Walsh is starting to waver a little bit. But the bigger, more famous person that Thompson gets on his side, he joins forces with Hillary Clinton. And again, this is the mid-2000s, so this is like she is sort of gearing up for her 2008 presidential run, where she does not win the nomination. Spoilers, because that ends up going to Barack Obama. But she's building up her political sort of cachet here, I suppose. And this is one of the crusades that she's on. She's on sort of an anti-video game crusade, and so is Jack Thompson. And together, because Jack Thompson is Republican and Hillary Clinton is a Democrat, this becomes this like issue that, hey, we can all agree on this, right? And like that sort of like lends a little bit of credibility, I think, to it, or at least that's the thought that they had, that maybe there's some credibility here, because if both sides agree on it, then surely there's something here. This was back when both sides could agree on something, right?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I like how they pick video game violence as the thing they all agree on too.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yep. Yeah, we can all agree that we don't understand kids these days. That's really it.
That's really what
of all of our disagreements here. We can all agree that we, across the board, are just out of touch, generally speaking.
Something's wrong with our children, for sure.
For sure, and it wasn't us that did it. No, there's just something wrong with this generation in general. So yeah, she wanted to keep violent video games out of the hands of children, and she talked a lot about Grand Theft Auto because that was the one you talked about if you're pushing forward this agenda. I think he was just stoked that he finally had somebody on his side with some power to enact some legislation that would finally make his dreams come true. Because he's just a lawyer. Nice. He can't actually do anything besides yell and hopefully get the attention of someone like Hillary Clinton, who is a senator from New York, who can actually maybe make some legislation happen.
All he can do is just sue people. That's right. Like, and talk on television.
Yep. He can sue people, and then that gives him a platform to speak in front of a court, which probably gets him on television, which gets him guest spots on TV, and that helps push forward this narrative. So, of course, all of this hinged on their ability to prove whether or not explicit material was already on the disc, because we're still in hot coffee era here, and it's a lot. The line is being drawn here between like, well, what is content that it was made by modders that is like not really Rockstar's responsibility, and what is content that was on the disc itself, ostensibly made by Rockstar, that modders have just unlocked? There is, in my mind, not a huge difference between those two there, but in their mind, they're like, look, if it's on the disc, Rockstar wanted it there, they're the ones destroying our children, right? So they needed to prove that it was all on the disc here. If it's inaccessible and unavailable for players to get without downloading off unauthorized mods, like, to me, again, it doesn't really matter if the content was on the disc or not. Cut content happens all the time in games, and I don't think developers should be held responsible for stuff that's not accessible, right? Because like there could be source code somewhere on that disc that has comments in it that like has cursing in it on an rated E for everyone game. It's like, would you say this game is now inappropriate for children because there's cursing in like some deep text file that's never actually shown to the kid? Like, no, I don't think so.
That would be a funny project though. If you found kids games and you tried to like go on the disc and find curse words in the comments.
I bet that there's probably a website somewhere that like tries to find that kind of stuff out. But even the console versions of this game, if that content was on the disc, you could get to it with the right like Game Shark codes. So there's a little bit more of I don't know. I still don't think there's much there. Anyway, David Walsh enlisted an anonymous hacker to go in and find out if the content was really on the disc. So the hacker took his $2,000 and got back to him, so basically saying, yeah, the content really was on the disc. It was probably the easiest $2,000 that hacker ever made, because all he had to do was download the mod and see how it worked. He's like, these files are not included in the mod, but yes, they are here. They must be on the disc. That's it. I made this in like 45 seconds just looking at how the mod worked.
Dude, easiest 2K of your life.
That's right. Yeah. So it would have been pretty easy to see if that mod added the content itself or if it just unlocked it so that it could be triggered during the normal game. After that, he did a quick double check on the disc to make sure that content was there to confirm it. But honestly, I'd be comfortable confirming it myself if I knew how the mod worked and that it couldn't possibly have worked without the data on the disc. I think it's pretty obvious. If you look at how the mod works, you're like, this couldn't possibly work unless there's something here to unlock, right? The mod is just a key. The lock exists. The door cannot be... I don't know. That's a weird metaphor. Never mind.
No, the mod is the key that unlocks the door to the content that's already on the disc.
That's right. And if the door is not there, then I guess it's not... My headphones like falling out of my head.
You need to hire a contractor because there's no doors in your house.
Yes. If there are no doors in your house, you need somebody to give you those doors.
Mm-hmm. This metaphor is totally sound.
It's gone off the rails. But that hacker was anonymous. And Walsh was advised that he couldn't just rely on like some random hacker, anonymous person on the internet for confirmation. He's like, but I gave him $2,000. And they're like, you just gave a person on the internet $2,000 so they would say what you wanted them to say? Okay. But we're going to need a little bit more than that. So this part makes me laugh a lot.
It does.
So David Walsh called in who we all call when we have a weird computer problem that we need fixed. When you need somebody you know is an expert at a computer, at computer stuff, at the cyber, who do you call, Mike? Who are you going to call?
Best Buy Geek Squad.
That's right. He calls up Best Buy Geek Squad. I like to think that he just like went into a store and was like, I have this disc of Grand Theft Auto and I need you to find out if there's explicit material on it. And the guy looks at him and goes, what? What are you trying to... What is this for? It's for a secret project that I can't tell you about. You need to find out if there's explicit material on this disc for a secret Okay. So I have very little faith in Geek Squad's ability to confirm or deny the existence of this content because my experience with Geek Squad is that they generally did not know that much about computers beyond like the basic like maintenance stuff that they would do in their store. Like, okay, put new RAM in your computer. Okay, great. But I don't think that they're experts at like reverse engineering and taking apart PS2 discs and finding out what content is on those discs. Like some 19-year-old
But they call themselves the Geek Squad.
That's true. And you may not be able to legally do that unless you can reverse engineer PlayStation 2 games.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But they didn't actually need Geek Squad's help because ESRB had done their own investigation in order to find out if they needed to change the rating of the game from M for mature to AO for adults only. The plan was for the ESRB to put out a statement saying that they were revoking the M rating. And then so that what they did was they gave Take-Two the option of handling the fallout rather than having retailers ship every copy of the game back to them. So like the idea was basically going to be like, we're going to say this game is adults only, and then you got to deal with what the retailers want because of that, right? So they announced that GTA was now rated AO for adults only. I think this was maybe the first time that a game had its rating changed on the same release of the game. Like plenty of games have had their ratings changed like after a re-release later on. Like usually it's gone down. Like in the case of the Ratchet and Clank collection on PS3, those games were rated T for teen on PS2 before the E10 rating was a thing. So when they like remastered the original trilogy for the PlayStation 3, it came out. The games are all the same. They didn't actually change any of the content there, but they became rated E10 instead of teen because I guess they felt like that was more accurate. So, and Night Trap, which is really funny because it was rated M, of course, when it came out. But now that it's been re-released as part of the 25th anniversary, it's like campy and weird and like not realistic at all. It's rated T for teen now. This game that was subject of like destroying the youth is somehow for 13-year-olds now. So usually these things are like the ratings are knocked down upon a re-release, but I think this was the first time that a game had not only had its rating bumped up, but also on the same release, right? This wasn't like a re-release, like the anniversary edition of Grand Theft Auto came out and like norms are different now, so we changed the rating. It's like, no, they like, because Take-Two and Rockstar lied to us, basically is what they're saying. Like they said this was the content in the game, and actually there was worse stuff in the game. So yeah, GTA's change from M to AO though meant that it couldn't be sold on store shelves to kids, and retailers would either have to label it accurately and stop selling it to minors, or ship them back to Take-Two. And most retailers, still to this day, they just have a general rule like they don't sell adult-rated games. Like they just don't. Like it's sort of like we don't sell like X-rated movies at Walmart. Like they just don't do it, right? So that was actually a pretty big potential blow to Rockstar because they would have to Rockstar and Take-Two, because they would have to deal with all of these games being sent back to them because these retailers didn't want to sell them anymore.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that in a bit too. I have some statistics about that as well.
I can't wait to hear them.
Chapter 22 is called Busted, and we start Chapter 22 at an outdoor store called Gander Mountain in upstate New York. There, Sam Hauser is pondering why you can buy a shotgun at Walmart, but not adults-only rated games, which is a good point. The hot coffee scandal is causing major issues for Rockstar and GTA San Andreas. Rockstar has to re-release new discs with no sex scenes wrapped on them, and that process will cost Take-Two $25 million.
Sheesh.
Meanwhile...
Dang, that's a lot. That seems like excessive, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it costs to print new discs of games, but I didn't think they were that expensive.
Either. But what's crazy too is like while this is all going on, Walmart was 20% of their sales of GTA San Andreas.
Yikes.
So that's like a big hit also. So they're having to pay the money to make the discs, and they're getting hit by not selling the disc at Walmart stores, which is wild to me because now, like in 2025, I wonder how much Walmart even factors in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a
like
good
with
question.
internet sales and digital downloads, like my guess is Walmart does not hit nearly that number now, but I can only speculate.
Yeah.
So Rockstar and Take-Two also pissed off the other video game company representatives that made up the ESRB because Congress, voted 355 to 21 to pass a resolution asking the Federal Trade Commission to formally investigate Rockstar for fraud. So the other companies that are in the ESRB are Nintendo, Sony, and then also I think I'm not sure if Microsoft was in there at this point. That's kind of early, but they finally were like essentially putting video games in the crosshairs, and that's why they didn't like this, because now everyone's looking at video games and looking at them for fraud and for censorship and all that stuff. I have just kind of some brief bullet points here of things that happened. An 85-year-old grandmother in the Bronx also demanded her money back in a civil lawsuit against Rockstar over the hidden sex machine. She bought it for her grandson. The country of Australia banned the sale of the game after the rating was revoked. The then California governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, enacted AB 1179, banning the sale of violent video games to anyone under the age of 18. Retailers caught doing that would face a $1,000 fine for each violation. So,
and does that include M-rated games, or that's for adults only games?
I think it's M-rated games too.
Oh, huh.
I think it's the book said violent video games.
So I guess he got what he wanted then in California.
Yeah, that kind of opens up a lot more, right? So the wild thing that Kushner points out in this whole thing is that he says, quote, while politicians fretted about children confusing games with reality, they seemed to have a harder time distinguishing between the two worlds than the players did. They spoke of the games as if the players were committing the crimes in real life. And this is really interesting, but listen to this quote. This is from James Steyer, the CEO of Common Sense Media, which is a San Francisco-based nonprofit that provided like the legal underpinnings of this bill in California. He said, quote, "You're the one who rapes someone. You're the person who is serviced by a prostitute in the back of the car." So this guy is saying things to people who play video games like they're actually doing these things in real life, which is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so little understanding of how games are experiential, like how you experience this more than, say, your standard movie or TV show. It's just, and we're going to kind of get into that a little bit more in a bit, but it's so upsetting when you read it, like, oh, this person's claiming that these 14-year-old kids are criminals because they're playing a video game is just wild to me.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton and Joseph Lieberman introduced the Family Entertainment Protection Act, which bans the sale of M-rated games to children and allows for government audits of retailers and the ESRB. That really pissed off the industry because, again, like federally, the industry's in the crosshairs now because of that. And then Rockstar was even catching strays from the video game industry themselves. Warren Spector, famous video game designer,
yeah, boy,
at the Montreal Game Developers Conference called GTA, quote, "The ultimate urban thuggery simulation, and you can't take a step back from that," end quote.
Okay.
So they're getting attacked by like people from within now. Game Daily had an editorial saying that games were, quote, losing the culture war, even at a time when they were the most financially successful. The city of Los Angeles filed a suit against Take-Two, claiming they violated the state of California business code. So, like, all these things are happening post-Hot Coffee, right? It's just become a huge issue. It's getting blown out of proportion. So what are Sam and Dan Houser doing in the meantime? Well, they're doing what they always do, which is hiding from the public and making games. And honestly, I can't really blame them at this point.
I'd do the same thing if I were them.
Yep, I would do the exact same thing too. So both the Warriors and the game Bully were developed at this time, but since we're mostly focusing on GTA in the series, I won't really go too into detail on these, but they do seem like big passion projects for the Houser brothers. So they got to bring one of their favorite movies to life with the Warriors. Like, that's a movie that they both watched that they loved, and now they're like making a licensed IP game of that. And then they got to have like an autobiographical game with Bully, because both the Hauser brothers went to like a boarding school and grew up in which is where Bully is set, and like dealt with bullying. So it's kind of a very personal story to them. But Dan Hauser did do an interview with the New York Times that was supposed to be about the Warriors, but he did make a comment in regards to hot coffee. And I'm just going to paraphrase here. He essentially goes into how the people that are criticizing the game never played it and are just going on with it because it seems like a scary news story, which I believe is 100% correct in that assessment and still happens all the time today.
I agree with
that. Like, you see this with everything. You see this with anything that becomes like a hype train thing that people get all riled up about. It's never something that they know about. They just see the headline and they get all angry. And that's kind of what's going on here with hot coffee. So, meanwhile, former Rockstar employees were letting their opinions be known. Dave Jones said it was a mistake to leave hot coffee on the disc in the first place. That's why he was making Crackdown, by the way. The first Crackdown game. That's like a big hit that I never played. Have you played Crackdown?
I played the third one a little bit. The one where you
Crackdown 1. Apparently a really good game.
Yeah. I remember the thing that I remember about Crackdown, I think it was Crackdown, was that the game itself was fine, but I remember so many people bought it because you got a key to play the Halo 3 beta. Ooh. So it sold really, really well. Probably better than it normally would have because of that. And that the game itself was also pretty cool. But I think it was maybe not as good as the sales of it would suggest because people were so excited for Halo 3. That's my read on that game, but I could be wrong.
You know, if you download our podcast, I heard you might get a code to GTA 6.
That's true.
You know that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You might.
That's definitely true. You might. It might happen.
Yep.
You know, so just letting you know that.
It might happen if you don't download our podcast too. We are not actually in control of those codes.
We're in zero control of that. Even though Sam and Dan Hauser are friends of the podcast, although Dan no longer works at Rockstar.
That's true.
So Gary Dale, who was now working at Capcom, thought that their refusal to answer questions actually made the story bigger. Like, Rockstar being a private company that never talked to the press made hot coffee worse, essentially, is his argument. And I actually don't really disagree with him there.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like their whole, like, shuttering themselves in instead of addressing the problem definitely made it so, like, everyone just heard Jack Thompson's side of the story.
Yeah.
Right? So that really hurt them in this sense. So it all seemed to come to a head, though, when a group called the Peaceaholics began protesting outside of Rockstar's offices in New York. And these protesters were not the old people that Sam Hauser thought of when he thought of people that didn't understand Rockstar. These were young people, like young teenage people, younger teenagers, early 20s. They were protesting about the game, and, well, mostly young people, because there was one of them that stood out in particular, and it was a man in a white button shirt and a blue tie, and he had a bullhorn, and he was Jack Thompson. That's right.
Man,
Jack Thompson's
this guy's always
here.
popping out from under the bed.
Yeah, I actually really like the reveal that Kushner does in the book where he says it's Jack Thompson. I did a terrible job of it, but his reveal is written very well and nice. So read the book, as we always say. But Thompson demanded someone at Rockstar come talk to him, and of course, no one came down, because why would they, right? Like, this is something they never do. Yeah. Kushner compares this to a final boss at the end of the level, and I'm not sure if he's inferring Jack Thompson as the final boss or Rockstar. I think he's referring to Jack Thompson being like the final boss. You know, like when you're playing a video game and the final boss shows up in a cutscene. That's kind of what's going on right now with Jack Thompson.
Yeah,
like he's there to show up in the cutscene. He's Bowser kidnapping Princess Peach right now.
Yeah.
But you got to go on an adventure a little ways more to go face off with him. So regardless, there would be no boss battle at the end of the chapter, but it is pretty intense.
Yeah.
For a while.
And this is Jack Thompson kind of at the height of his power. I think this is where he's really like, it's kind of going to his head a little bit. And he's about
It's going to his head.
He's about to start making some mistakes. So we get into chapter 23 here, which is called Bullies. And that's why I say the turntables here, Mike.
Oh, how the turntables.
Oh, how
are the turntables?
The turntables, because he's at the height of his power when he's in this protest. And well, we're gonna see how that goes for him. So we are back on the Jack Thompson grind. But now he's receiving death threats from gamers who think that he is out to just ban video games entirely. Because that, I do want to stress that at this point in time, the prevailing narrative among gamers as to what Jack Thompson was trying to do was he is trying to shut down video games. Like, he wants no video games to ever exist ever again, and that's it. And like, he's trying to ban everything. So keep that in mind as you hear the reactions from gamers here, because he's getting a lot of death threats. Which is ironic in my mind, because to send death threats to Jack Thompson is funny, because it's like, these games don't make me want to kill people like you say they do. And if you keep telling people that they do, then I'm going to kill you. And it's like,
yeah, it doesn't help their argument.
Yeah, it's like, what? Come on. Like, yeah.
A lot of angry teenagers, a lot of angry teenage feelings going on in these messages, I'm sure.
Yeah. So generally speaking, he was getting a lot of folks wishing very terrible things that would happen to him and to his family. And it's like, I'm not a fan of his, but you are kind of proving his point by sending these threats. So like, you're not really helping yourself out.
Yeah, I think the better response would have been to just like do those silly pranks that the internet does, you know?
There you go.
Like, that's a fun thing. Like call them, ask for Battletoads. Do something like that. You know,
yeah,
that's
call them
that's
and
a
ask for
funnier.
Battletoads. Oh man, I haven't
That's
heard
a
that
funnier way to deal with a bully. That's a funnier way to deal with it than death threats. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. It is not the right way to go about this, considering his allegations against you.
Yeah. Yeah. So he did what I would do in this scenario if I were him, and he took those threats with him to the government to use them as ammo, because of course he would. I don't even blame him for that. He would become a villain to gamers, something to be like vanquished and overcome, right? So I've been on record on this podcast as saying Jack Thompson got a little bit of a bad rap. I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm not saying he didn't do anything wrong or that he's like actually a good person or anything like that. But he is a human and he's fighting for what he believed in. And he wasn't trying to take video games away from the people at large. He was really just trying to keep violent games out of the hands of children, and he went pretty over the top with it. That's it. He was pretty heavy-handed. He definitely enjoyed hamming it up for the spotlight, but he was kind of just one part of a conversation that we are still having to this day. Like, we still have these debates over like how video games affect people, right, and whether or not it's positive, negative, and there are opinions on all sides of the spectrum. But he did eventually reach a point where he was saying he was going to destroy the gaming industry. So it's not clear to me if those big words came before or after he and his family were being credibly threatened with their lives. But I think in his mind, at some point, the gaming industry and gamers as a whole sort of became his own kind of villain, one that he was going to be the one to vanquish, right? He's like, first, I just wanted to take away the bad games from kids. Now I am discovering that the entire industry is full of people who are negatively affected by video games. And so now he's saying he's going to vanquish the entire industry, which is like, okay, that maybe not the move, my dude. But when you're getting death threats all the time, it's hard not to see the group of people giving you death threats as bad people in general. Like, I think that's a pretty reasonable point of view to have.
I mean, and this is not from the book. This is actually from that Perfect Circle. That's a band. The Perfect Console podcast, that you can kind of feel that with how he talks. Like, he feels like he doesn't acknowledge that he went too far. We're going to talk about him going too far in chapter 24, but he thinks like, oh, they were out to get me. Like, I'm the victim. Like, he talks like that in the episode, and you're going to see why he thinks that way. But I agree with you. I feel like when you were a kid and you were playing a board game, and if you were winning, you know how everyone would kind of gang up on you? Mm-hmm. And then you'd be like, I'm going to become the bad guy. Like, that's kind of what he does.
Yeah.
He kind of is like, I'm going to become the bad guy. Obviously, it's like much higher stakes than a board game. But I remember like playing Monopoly as a kid, and I would get lucky and I would get a lot of properties, and everyone would like start ganging up on me. And I'm like, well, now I'm going to become the biggest Monopoly person I can, you know? That's kind of what it feels like to me. He's like, oh, you're going to make death threats against me? Well, now I'm going to destroy the whole industry so you have nothing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem mature, and it doesn't seem from a legal standpoint like a legal strategy. It feels like he starts taking things very personally.
Yeah,
it's hard not to when people are making death threats against you.
Like, overly emotional, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because you see people like, and you'll see this in chapter 24, like he kind of loses it in court, And that's something you just don't do if you're a lawyer. Like, you have to keep your composure. And when you don't, that's when terrible stuff happens. And we're just kind of seeing the foreshadowing to this essentially now.
Yeah, definitely. I still do that in games, like especially social deduction games where, like, if I'm playing Among Us and somebody's like, I think Tyler's the bad guy. I'm like, I am. Now I am against you. Now I am against everybody. And either I am actually the bad guy and I guess you're going to win, or I'm majorly bluffing right now. And if you vote me off, I consider that a victory for myself.
Dude, I would love it if there was a mode in Among Us where if you chose to start killing people, you could.
You could just choose to be the bad guy. We're just like, well, you voted for me last time, or you brought me up, and I survived, but now I am the bad guy. That would be funny.
That'd be so funny to make it like worse. And then then what would happen is they would like kill the two people that are chosen to be the bad guy, and then it's like, why is the game still going? And it's like, you made a bad guy.
You made a new bad guy. Yeah. You
That'd be
did
so
this.
Funny. You did this. Yeah. It's totally a little kid. I mean, I would still do it now in board games. There's a board game called Betrayal, the Betrayal in the House on the Hill. And it's like a haunted house board game where you all work together. And then at one point, one person betrays everyone by like siding with the villain. And I'm like, that just is a board game about you doing that, and I love it because it's like you get to be the one that gets chosen, and it's like, I'm going all in, baby. I'm gonna be the bad guy. I love it.
Yeah.
So sorry, this was kind of a tangent. Do you want to hit the button?
Let me find my tangent button.
That was a good tangent though, but it was related to Jack Thompson.
That's
so I'm
true.
Proud of us.
Yeah,
Let's
Jack
continue.
Thompson is me in Among Us. Just
and me playing Monopoly in 7th grade.
So all the things he's talked about over his career thus far, mostly GTA games that are clearly violent, let the player act in whatever way they want. Like, I don't think anybody's out here trying to argue that GTA is like not a violent game, right? Or that doesn't happen in there. But the next game on the list from Rockstar was simultaneously a little bit more tame than GTA, while also being a little bit more real, I'd say. And that's Bully that we're talking about, the title of the chapter, and you mentioned it a minute ago. But it's like an open world game. It's set at a high school. You play a rebel kid who is getting into trouble. He's just trying to survive in high school, which we all know is a rough time to be a kid, right? It's a little GTA style in that it's an open world, and but it's pretty toned down compared to Grand Theft Auto. It's rated T for teen, so that should give you kind of an idea of like how it compares to GTA. It's like similar gameplay structures, but not as like overtly violent. Although there's still some stuff in there that you could say is not great for kids to be like glorifying, I suppose. But he's out in the media talking about Bully before it's even out, because this guy sees the title of this game and he goes, I know what that's about. If Grand Theft Auto is about stealing cars, then Bully must be about being a bully, which is like a choice you can make in the game. I don't think you have to be a bully, but I actually have not spent very much time playing that game. So
I haven't either, or the Warriors game, and I kind of want to play them, and I think I actually have a copy of the Warriors game.
Ooh.
So it's on my Xbox. If you catch my drift.
Yeah. Is there? I wonder if there's co-op in that. We should play that.
We should see. Yeah. But yeah. So but I was just wondering because I never played these games and I'm like kind of intrigued by them. So we should give them a go.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see Rockstar from the other side of GTA.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did play Midnight Club. I played quite a bit of Midnight Club as a kid.
Yeah, and I love Red Dead. Of course, we've all played many hours of Red Dead Redemption and Redemption 2. But yeah, so he's out in the media talking about Bully before it's even out. He's saying stuff about it based solely on the name. He's just kind of this is the point where he has lost the plot a little bit. He's just getting really theatrical about this. He's loving the spotlight. He's loving the fame and notoriety that he is getting from this. And the hot coffee stuff is sort of kind of wearing off by this point. Like they've sort of come to a solution there, which is like, we're going to reprint all the discs. We're going to do all this stuff. And like, if the hot coffee stuff is like getting cold. Get it?
Yeah.
But
it's turning into cold brew.
But Jack Thompson's still addicted to the high, the dopamine of like being on this righteous crusade. So he's picked Bully now. And he kind of becomes a parody of himself in this instance. I think he could have just like called it good at GTA, but he didn't. He offered a $10,000 check to charity to any company, or maybe it was Take-Two specifically, that would make him a game of himself, exacting revenge on the video game industry executives by flying to New York and going on a rampage and taking out all of the video game executives at E3 in 2006. What he was going for here, obviously he doesn't really want this game. What he's going for is he's like, hey, look, what if these games were about you and you were the target? That doesn't feel so good, does it? Like kind of sort of trying to show the mirror to them, but it really just makes him look like a crazy person. That's really all it does.
Make him look. It's this is such a crazy part of the book. When I read this, I was like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What are you doing?" From like a tactical standpoint, this is not a good thing.
Yeah.
I was like, "Pull up, Jack Thompson. Don't do this."
Yeah. Like strategically holding a mirror to the industry and saying, "Look, this is what you are." Like strategically, maybe not a bad move. Tactically doing it in this way, terrible move. Did not work out for him, and people just sort of laughed at him for it. And that's where he kind of started to lose his power here. He's just like high on the media attention, which is something that in that interview with My Perfect Console, he does say that. Like that is something that he like admits to. He's like, yeah, I kind of got a little carried away by the end there. And that was maybe part of what gave them some ammo to kind of take him down.
At least he kind of sees it a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
so he
that's good.
He's willing to admit that at this point. He's pretty reflective there. I think he realizes that he went a little bit too far. So some modders did actually make a mod for GTA that was like kind of what he was talking about, which is pretty funny if you ask me. He proceeded to not keep that promise of donating $10,000 to charity because he didn't actually expect anyone to do it. And then he was like, well, I asked Take-Two to do it and not modders, so it's not the same thing. And so the authors of Penny Arcade, Mike Krahulik and Jerry Holkins, they were just like, we'll do it. We'll give $10,000 to charity. I can't remember which charity they donated to. Maybe to their own, because they have one, right? The Child's Play charity. It might have been their own. But
yeah, they donated to something that definitely made him mad.
Yeah.
I forget.
And they did it in his name.
They mention it. And they did it in his name for sure. And it was like, that's a solid move.
Yeah.
Like just a perfect move, honestly.
Pretty funny. So yeah, the rest of this chapter is sort of Jack Thompson just kind of unraveling in spectacular fashion. Like I think he flew a little bit too close to the sun with the hot coffee stuff, which if he had played it properly was potentially a legitimate complaint, and possible to like get the parents of people like riled up. And people, especially people who don't know that much about video games. I think he thought he still had that power when Bully came around, but people were kind of tired of his shtick by then. Nothing had happened yet with Bully because it wasn't even out. And if hot coffee wasn't even going to be the thing that got Jack Thompson what he wanted, then surely like some teen-rated game about being a high school kid is like not going to do that either. So it was also about this time that our doctor friend who had the data that backed up Jack Thompson's claims about video games like training kids to be killers, David Walsh, he also at this point is going, all right, man, you're going a little bit too far here. Like, so yeah, like just a quick refresher on David Walsh. Like he's the one who put all the data together, who figured out that like video games have some effect on kids. Maybe it's worth keeping an eye on here. But by this point, Jack Thompson's like, our kids are being destroyed. And David Walsh is like, I don't think that's necessarily true. When he saw that weird like $10,000 game proposal, he was like, okay, this is too far for me. He sort of cut ties at that point with Thompson, saying that he was being hyperbolic and kind of over the top with it. So Thompson called him an idiot and was like, I don't need you anyway. And so he just continues doubling down at this point. He's super overreacting to Bully. He thinks the Bully scandal is as big as hot coffee, which again, game's not even out yet.
Yeah.
And one of the few people he had backing him up with data and science thought he was also being a big dum-dum and kind of stopped being his friend. So Jack Thompson even burned that bridge, which is like, not helpful to him. So now he's just kind of a crazy person who maybe kind of had a point at one point in time, but doesn't anymore. And then all his friends like abandon him in his crusade. And now he's just like the old man yelling at cloud based on nothing. Yeah. He doubled down.
Truly the definition of lost in the sauce.
He did get lost in the sauce. He got space madness for
Space Madness.
Yeah. And even Rockstar
like me 1v3ing in League of Legends when the team is down.
That's right.
He has Space Madness.
I got Space Madness. Even Rockstar is making fun of him at this point. So Liberty City Stories, which was a PSP game, which was so cool because it was just a full GTA game on your PSP, which was like portable GTA was sort of like just unheard of at the time.
I think you've talked about your love of this game before.
I do love this game. It's great. It's also on PS2. That's probably the better version of it, but it was so cool when it came out on PSP. There's also Vice City Stories. So those are worth playing. But anyway, Rockstar kind of makes fun of him in Liberty City Stories. And they take some funny jabs at him in some like radio things and stuff like that.
Inappropriate for the podcast. We can't talk about.
That's right. Read the book if you want the full details on how Rockstar made fun of Jack Thompson in Liberty City Stories. So around this time, Thompson also suffered a major defeat in an Alabama court against Rockstar, who he was suing for their potential role in the pretty brutal school shooting that I think we talked about in previous episodes. So Thompson, again, thought he was bigger than he was, thought he had more clout than he did, and Rockstar was kind of able to just get him removed from the case entirely because of how ridiculous and over the top he was being about all this. He, like, brought in all of this evidence of, like, all the death threats and stuff to the judge and all of the things that he had been saying back to people, kind of provoking them. And the judge was like, dude, like, yeah, death threats are not okay, but, like, you don't need to be out here provoking it either. And so that's how they sort of got him taken off the case. So we haven't heard the last of Jack Thompson just yet, but this is sort of where, like, it's starting to go downhill for him a bit. The other thing that was going on in this point of time that Jack had started was Sam Hauser's testimony to the FTC about whether or not they had intentionally misled the ESRB to avoid an adults-only rating for San Andreas. So Sam Hauser had to kind of explain how modding worked, how it's technically illegal that people did this, which I don't think is true. I don't think what the modders did was technically illegal, but like you could probably make that case in court in a way that's like convincing enough, maybe.
I mean, because wouldn't that be similar to the same way if you take like a movie and you cut it and splice it and talk over it for a YouTube video? You've changed the media, like you've modified it,
right?
I would think a mod for a video game would be treated the same way.
Yeah,
but then again, I'm not a lawyer. So
yeah, mods for video games are not inherently illegal as long as they're not like violating copyright or anything like that. But this is stuff that like Nintendo has gone to court over, specifically around things like the Game Genie and stuff like that, where they're like, we are modifying our code and like that's a derivative work and now you're breaking copyright when you do that, which is a clever legal strategy, but like honestly doesn't really hold up to common sense scrutiny, I don't think. But yeah, so anyway, he's like, what they're doing was technically illegal. Okay, fine. Anyway, he's like basically out here saying none of this is our fault. We did not intentionally mislead the ESRB. And to their credit, like they didn't. Like this was not content that was intended to be.
It was not supposed to be in there.
Yeah, and maybe they were going to put out like a director's cut version that like sort of unlocked this stuff, but like they didn't do that, and so we can't really speculate on like how that would have gone down. Like if they had put out their own mod, which they had planned to do, and that caused a lot of this controversy, then you could absolutely say, hey, you guys put this on the disc. You did mean for it to be seen. You just unlocked it later. And that could be seen as like you tried to get around the ESRB by having this content locked away, but then unlocking it yourself. But because they never unlocked it themselves, I think it's kind of it's not a great defense. So this was like a lot for people at Rockstar between the hot coffee stuff, Jack Thompson on the bully stuff, the unrelated financial and legal troubles of Take-Two, unrelated to these controversies related in the fact that Take-Two owns Rockstar. And so of course it affects them. But Sam Hauser was feeling pretty bad, and so were a lot of other executives at Rockstar. Jamie King, he just straight up stopped showing up to work. They closed their offices in Vienna. A bunch of other executives quit or otherwise left, and the remaining management didn't really want to make any changes to how they made games since they were like, well, we're still successful. Like, we don't need to make any big changes here. So, like, that made some other people who were trying to make some changes around there. They were like, okay, they don't want to change. I'm out. The hot coffee stuff, I think, really traumatized a lot of people at Rockstar from that time period. And then, of course, Take-Two's legal problems. Like, you got problems over on one side on the hot coffee and bully stuff from Jack Thompson. You got problems on the other side. It was like, well, maybe our owner's about to go under, and that's going to be a bad time for us. It's hard to blame people for being like, you know what? Maybe I'm done here, and I'm going to go somewhere else. This is a good time to leave, probably. In hindsight, of course, we know that Rockstar goes on to become even more wildly successful. But with the data they had at the time, I don't blame anybody for leaving, right? They're kind of in a downer at this point, to be honest. And this book was published in early 2012, so it may not get very much better from here. GTA 4, where we're at in the story, where we're at in the book, GTA 4 hasn't come out yet, I suppose. So I guess we'll probably hear about that. Red Dead hasn't come out yet, so we'll probably hear about that a little bit since that was a couple years before this book was published. But the book is going to stop before we get to GTA 5. And so we might have a little bit more work for us to do, Mike, on the last 15 years of Rockstar, because it's like 2 games, GTA 5, all across 3 consoles, and Red Dead Redemption.
Dude, we've talked about this already off the podcast, but I don't want to buy GTA 6 3 times like I did with GTA 5.
No, I'm just waiting for the PC release, man.
That's how I'm gonna do it too. But yeah, so we got one more chapter we're going to talk about today. Chapter 24. This is called Flowers for Jack. So we now arrive at DICE, specifically the 2007 DICE. And DICE, by the way, stands for Design, Innovate, Communicate, Entertain Summit. So it's more industry focused than E3. And this actually culminates in the Interactive Achievement Awards, which is kind of like the Oscars of video games at the time. But Kushner also goes into the big changes happening in the industry during this DICE, which is controls. So video game controls had greatly changed in the last decade and gotten more and more complex, right? They were having like you have to have like thumb-eye coordination to play a game, you know, with like an Xbox controller or a PlayStation DualShock controller. So that's all about to change though, because the Wii comes out in 2006 and they made gaming accessible again. This isn't a history on podcast on the Wii. We already talked about that, I believe. But just know that between the Wii coming out, Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and then on top of that, the beginnings of mobile gaming and Facebook games. We're talking your Farmville, stuff like that.
What a time to be alive. We were grown adults during this period. What a great time to be alive in gaming.
I know. And also, like, that's just bringing even more non-gamers back into gaming, which is great. The Wii. Yeah, especially the Wii. So DICE was pretty big at this time because gaming's kind of booming again. And it's not about Grand Theft Auto. It's just about accessibility in games in general, right? But it was also big, though, because Doug Lowenstein, the president of the Entertainment Software Association, was leaving. He actually is leaving for private equity, it says in the book. He's not retiring, he's just leaving the industry. And Doug went out with a bang in his speech at DICE in 2007. So first thing he does, he attacked Rockstar for cutting and running when things got tough with hot coffee.
Dang.
However, he also then lambasted the entire crowd for not being more politically active and defending themselves as an industry. They even had this program while he was at the Entertainment Software Association where it was like Vote for Video Games, where they tried to get like political activism within video game companies to like defend themselves essentially, and no one signed up for it. He even says in the speech, he goes, "Raise your hand if you signed up for that." And there's only like a few hands that come up at this giant summit.
Whoops.
Right? But the last one is a doozy though, because he hit the game press specifically with this line. So now he's talking to games media. You know who gives Jack Thompson more attention than anyone else? The games press. The games press legitimizes Jack Thompson. Everyone gets so upset that Jack Thompson has so much ability. I think it's nuts.
All they have to do is stop talking about him.
Yeah, and that's a quote. He calls them out for being like, Jack Thompson wouldn't be a problem if you just stopped covering him. And it's kind of crazy to hear him just be like, boom. It's his boom roasted moment, like at the end of that episode of The Office. He is, yeah. He just moves on. But meanwhile, like Kushner is also pointing out at the same time what's going on with Jack Thompson. And Jack Thompson has changed a lot. And I think it's because he's enveloped himself. And this is also mentioned by David Kushner. Like, I agree with David Kushner here. This is not a new idea. He's engrossed himself in video games and internet culture while doing this fight, right? For like almost for a decade, essentially. And now he's taken some of that in. Like, they talk about him having like a Fu Manchu mustache and watching like dark comedies and stuff. Like, he's very much like into that kind of thing. But his son, Johnny, who is now 14 years old, is into video games, actually. And they even talk about in the book how he took his son, Johnny, to try to do like another sting to see if they would sell him like Bully without asking his age, but I don't think it turned out well because nothing happens from it.
Also, Bully's rated teen, and he's 14, so...
Yeah, exactly. You're just trying to get him to buy things that are like mature or teen without parent permission, essentially. So now we're going to get into a part of the book that for me felt really gut-wrenching and sad, and it makes you kind of feel for Jack Thompson. So apparently his son, Johnny, says at one point while leaving for lacrosse camp, quote, "Dad, if you don't mind, I don't think I'll tell anyone that I'm your son."
Yikes.
Oof. Yeah. Big oof. But then Thompson's response is even more telling, though, because he says, quote, "I tell him I'm sorry that he goes through that, but I'm not sorry for what I've done." End quote. So it's like, wow, drama.
Okay.
You know, intrigue. This is a story about video games with some family drama in it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then in what I describe as a sassy move by gamers around the world, they actually raised money to send flowers to Jack Thompson. This is called Flowers for Jack. That's what they called it. So that's what the chapter is named after. And they sent him flowers as like a joke. But then he forwarded those flowers to Take-Two and quoted this: "In the memory of all the people who now lie in the ground because of your reckless design, marketing, and sale of mature-rated murder simulators to children." End quote. That's what he sends to Take-Two.
He thinks that's like a serious own right there. He thinks that's nuts. He's like, I got him with this one.
Yeah, so now we're going to kind of get into the downfall here. So Thompson was at this time crusading for the not yet released game Bully. It's important that we mention that. It is not yet released. The game is still not
out, yeah.
No one knows what it's about. But he claimed that this encouraged bullied kids to beat up and kill their bullies. He even got the Miami-Dade School District to issue a resolution asking Take-Two to not release the game Bully. Wow. Again, the game has not come out. It is entirely speculation. They don't really know what the game's about. They're not even giving it a chance, right? So then in 2006, and this is in June 2006, this is before this is happening, Jack actually gets a win. Jack Thompson gets a win in Louisiana because the legislature there passed a law banning the sale of video games to minors. So in the state of Louisiana, it looks like Jack Thompson gets what he wants, right? Then he spearheads another $600 million wrongful death lawsuit in September of 2006 against Rockstar, Take-Two, and Sony, claiming that a teenager killed 3 people in 2004 because of the game, right? So this is another one. It's another lawsuit where he like goes to the victim's family and he says, "I'll fight for you," and we'll sue them, and that's how he does it, right? But Jack lost the battle though, because he tried to get Walmart and other major retailers to not sell Bully in Florida because it violated public nuisance laws. However, after review and viewing the game, like Rockstar showed this judge the game, the judge determined it did not violate those laws and it deserved a teen rating. Then Thompson said the judge was wrong, and I want to read these quotes because I want the audience to keep in mind this is Jack Thompson in court addressing a judge, okay? And these are in letters, but he's still addressing a judge, right? Quote, "You did not see the game. You don't even know what it was you saw. You have consigned innumerable children to skull fractures, eye injuries from slingshots, and beatings with baseball bats." End quote. He sent that to a judge.
Wow.
Like just fully dismissing what the judge saw, like saying your opinion's wrong. You didn't look at this, yada, yada, yada. Take-Two asked the judge to throw Thompson in contempt of court, to which Thompson replied, once again in court, in writing, "You want to play hardball? You want to try to throw me in jail? You have no idea what you are unleashing in doing this. You're at the brink." End quote.
Buddy, you're overplaying your hand big time here, dude.
Yeah, so overplayed. And then on October 25th at 4:00 p.m., Thompson was at his own contempt hearing in Miami at the time, in a Miami courtroom, and Thompson still didn't back down and tried to show the judge what the definition of contempt was. And then the judge revealed that he was actually filing a personal complaint to the bar against Thompson. Whoops. So not only is this a contempt in court, the judge is actively now going to try to get Thompson disbarred.
Wow.
So with this on the table, Thompson still writes to the judge saying, quote, "You don't care because you don't have a teen in a school as I do," end quote. Like still pushing.
Come on, man.
Dude, this is where Take-Two makes their move, right? So they asked Thompson to come meet his executives in New York. And this is all what Jack Thompson claims, by the way. We don't really have Take-Two's side of the story. This is just Jack Thompson's side. He met with Take-Two's new CEO, Strauss Zelnick. They had an intermediary between them to negotiate the proceedings, and Thompson asked Take-Two to stop selling GTA and other mature games to kids. He claimed that if they did this and agreed to do this, he would immediately hold a press conference saying they're the most responsible company in the world.
Wow. assuming anybody cares about Jack Thompson's opinion on who the most responsible companies are.
Yeah. But according to Thompson, and this is again where I have to say you have to take this with a grain of salt. This is Take-Two's response. According to Thompson, they said, quote, "We are in a war with you, Mr. Thompson, and we will do whatever it takes to defeat and destroy you," end quote. Take-Two then filed a petition with the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida for relief, saying, quote, "Thompson has a history of making multiple threats of legal action, whether substantiated or not, both against Take-Two as well as the retailers who purchase the video games and offer them for sale to the public." While that happened, that Louisiana law that was passed was declared unconstitutional, and it got reversed. So now Jack Thompson takes the loss on that one as well. So now at this point, Jack Thompson is facing charges of contempt, disbarment, and on top of that, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. So Thompson settles with Take-Two on April 17, 2007. Thompson agreed to not sue or threaten to sue Take-Two or to direct any future communications with them through their attorneys. Essentially, it's like you agree to a restraining order legally with us.
Like, right? You're done, bud.
Yeah. So this, to me, is the point where Jack Thompson loses. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, you've officially lost. Like, I don't think he's been disbarred yet. Like, we might hear about that in the next chapter. But he settles with Take-Two to never fight with them again in court, which is pretty huge for Take-Two to win. But now we're going to jump cut to Will Rompf, who is starting to lose his motivation at Rockstar. I don't know if we talked about Will Rompf, but he was a guy...
Yeah, he's briefly in some chapters that I did not include in my talking about him, but he's like a... Anyway, you can explain who he is, I guess.
Yeah, he's like a guy who comes in later, and he's very much on the Rockstar team, right? He's drinking the Rockstar Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he's
all
loving Rockstar. Yeah,
he loves Rockstar. And he gets burned out because Jamie King leaves, and Jamie King was the person that told him not to crunch, to go home. So he's QA testing Manhunt 2, and he's pulling all-nighters. He's doing lots of drugs. He's drinking. He's trying to stay awake, and it is getting to him. And there's no easy way to say this, but it culminates with him stabbing a coworker with a ballpoint pen in the hand. What's wild about this, though, is they say that, and then Kushner just drops it and moves on to the next thing. So, like, I don't know what the repercussions were. We don't know what happened to Will Rompf. I'm assuming once you stab a coworker,
that seems like a fireable offense.
But yeah, I think he was essentially an example to Kushner of like people getting pushed through the Rockstar machine and like how they turn out in the end. Especially with so many people leaving, you can imagine him being the guy that's like, I gotta be the guy. Yeah. I gotta be the guy that does all this stuff. So it's like an example Kushner provides of crunch leading to violent ends and problems.
Well, he apparently works at EA right now.
Well, hey, you know what? I hopefully now, I mean, he didn't kill the guy or anything. From what it sounds like, in the book they say he stabbed him in the hand and the ballpoint pen like broke. So they were just like, oh, and they went to the hospital. You know what I mean? So like pretty big stuff. But this outburst though came from the multiple problems at Rockstar. Bully, The Warriors, Manhunt 2, Vice City Stories all did not financially meet expectations at Rockstar. And this last one was the worst because that's the least financially successful GTA game. And GTA is supposed to be Rockstar's thing, right? Those are the successes.
Yeah.
Those always hit. And one time it didn't hit. So Rockstar producer Jeff Williams mentioned how terrible it was to work at Rockstar, essentially saying there was inefficient company structure. He also said there were people that had no idea what they were doing, but thought they were amazing. Essentially, Rockstar has an ego problem, is what he was saying. And I mean, you can see it, right? Like, you can see it in how they act and what they do. The jabs at Rockstar were coming from all sides, though. But the tragedy happened on July 10th when Jeremy Blake, this is the person who had been at Rockstar for a very long time and actually designed the Rockstar logo, died by suicide. And then another suicide happened at Rockstar only weeks later. So there is like a tragic line here. I don't really want to go too far into that, obviously, but it's pretty sad, actually, what happened. And then there's more to it in the book. I'm just gonna skip over it because that is a big historical point with it. Is like people died. So Rockstar was probably at its lowest at this point, but like they always do, the Housers had to pretend everything was all right. So this chapter ends with Sam and Dan Houser, the only original members of Rockstar left, holding a cheeseball eating contest on Sam's 36th birthday.
Can always count on a cheeseball eating contest.
That's right. And they had the buckets and everything, they said. But now though, it was up to them to kind of save the company. They had to go back to making games like before, right? And that's kind of where chapter 24 ends. But much like Tyler said previously, I don't know. We're not probably going to get to the full re-rise of Rockstar. I would argue that's like Red Dead Redemption 2 GTA 5 territory.
Yeah.
Right? That's when it like really goes up. But we are going to start probably seeing the beginnings of like it getting better with Grand Theft Auto 4 and first Red Dead Redemption. So that's where we're going to leave it off today, and then we're going to end the series, next week when we finally finish Jacked.
Finish
Tyler,
the book.
What you been playing?
I've been playing, again, not a ton of games, but I did pick up Destiny Rising, which is the mobile game version of Destiny that is a third-person shooter. That is exactly what you think it is. It feels so far. I put maybe an hour or two in, so I'm not like deep in it. It feels like playing Destiny, which is pretty neat, except for it has all the gacha game mechanics around it. So like, you want new weapons? Guess what? We're rolling a slot machine for 3, 4, 5-star versions of your favorite guns, and you can get characters. It's like a Genshin Impact kind of thing where it's like, ooh, this is the character for this week, and like, you want to like spend money so you could try to get the 5-star version of Ikora Rey, and so it's definitely very mobile gamey. But so far I've been having fun. What I like to do with these kinds of games, I'm not a very big like microtransaction spender, and by not very big I mean I do basically nothing. Can't remember the last like microtransaction I spent money on.
I think mine's Helldivers, because I sometimes buy the Helldivers like passes or whatever, their battle passes.
Yeah, I don't consider like a battle pass like a microtransaction, I guess. I think of things like that are theoretically infinite is the thing that like, I guess, well, like a battle pass feels like more like a subscription fee, or like I'm paying for some sort of expansion of content. Whereas like buying skins feels like, well, this will never end, or buying characters or guns in a game like Destiny is like, this will just never end. But a battle pass feels like this is the set like this is the content you're buying and paying for, so it doesn't feel as bad to me. But anyway, I like playing these games for as long as I can until it becomes clear that like now you like you can technically progress if you like show up every day and do your dailies. You get like 1 pull at the slot machine, or you can pay $10 and we'll give you 100 pulls at the slot machine. That's when once it becomes clear that it's like I'm gonna have to pay to like make meaningful progress from this point, then I just kind of I'm out, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I still get a few hours of enjoyment. That usually happens. Like I probably want to say that's like the 15 or 20 hour mark of a game. The good ones don't shove it in your face too much at the beginning because they want to get you hooked on the game itself, and then they start doing it. The bad ones, Pokemon TCG Mobile, looking at you. Don't even let you play the game until they're sure you know how to spend money.
Yeah.
That really bothered me, where it was like, open more packs before you're allowed to play the game. And I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Nope. I uninstalled it immediately. I was like, that's it. I'm out. Not doing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. Destiny Rising. What have you been playing, Mike? Did you check out Destiny Rising at all?
I have not. I have been playing Helldivers 2. I bought the Halo pack because I'm a sucker, and it's pretty cool, though, because
fun, it's fun.
It's cool because I got the assault rifle, right? Mm-hmm. And when you click first person, it goes into the mode and it looks like you're playing Halo.
No,
like
that's
it's
awesome.
It's the same like angle that you're holding the assault rifle and everything, which is really cool. I liking that a lot. I've also been playing Path of Exile 2. I played that for its free weekend right now, so I tried that out with some friends. That was really fun. And then I went to PAX this last weekend.
Whoa,
I went on
Saturday. Tell me about PAX.
PAX was fun. It was kind of crazy. I wanted to go to play Borderlands 4, but the line was kind of nuts. So then I went to the Switch 2 booth because I saw they had Borderlands 4, and I got in line, and I overheard someone that had already done the loop and was like about to go in. And they were like, yeah, I got to the front of the line over there, and they gave me a ticket, and that's the game you play. And then he's like, you don't get a choice. And I was like, what? So you sit in this line for like 2 hours and you don't get to choose which game you play? That seems nuts.
Yeah, that does not seem
Because the other thing was they had Hades 2, which seems kind of weird because, I mean, that's a game that's already out and playable and you have it at PAX. But they also had supposedly Silk Song. That was the rumor, that they had Silk Song. I couldn't see it on any TV when I walked around. So I don't know, maybe there's like a secret place. But then that person claimed they got a ticket to go play Silk Song. So I was like, all right.
Okay.
But then I got out of line after about 5 minutes because I didn't want to do that. And I found a game.
Oh, I thought you meant you were like belligerent. I was out of line.
I was out of line.
You're out of line. No. Turn in your badge and gun, Mike. You're out of line.
You're out of line. But then I actually went and played a game that didn't have a line. I tried to look for a game that didn't have a line, and I found one, and I wrote the name of it. It's called God Save Birmingham, and it's like, what was the game where you were in a mall and you would like kill zombies with objects?
Dead Rising?
It's like Dead Rising, but medieval. So you could like, they said you could like pick up any object and throw it. It's an early build. I'm not going to make a judgment on the game if it's like a pre-alpha build, but I tried to like pick up a box and throw it at a zombie and it just bounced off the zombie and the zombie didn't do anything. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's coming soon to early access on Steam. So it's like not even out in early access. So
yeah.
It's pretty rough. It's probably pretty rough. That's okay.
It was pretty fun though. I mean, it seemed pretty cool. I just was like, it didn't feel like the items had oomph yet. And I'm like, I'm guessing they'll add oomph later on.
It's just a checkbox in Unreal Engine.
Yeah, just the oomph box. Yeah. So, but it was fun. And then went to some fun panels. It was neat. And then
what panels did you go to?
I went to a panel for Outer Worlds weapons that I kind of walked into. That was pretty neat to listen to the devs talk about the weapons. And then I went to a panel that was called the PAX Panel Show. My friend was on it. And it was like a British panel show with silly questions. And it was very good. And I enjoyed myself. It was very funny.
Nice.
And because of Donkey Kong Bonanza, all of the questions were primate related.
I got to play that game still. I bought it and I just have not played it.
I haven't played it. I mean, I don't have a Switch 2, so. But I'm going to wait. I'm waiting on the Switch 2.
I think that's fun. There's not much right now.
Yeah, I'm also okay with it. I have so many games to play. I don't need to buy new stuff. So. But yeah, and that's where I'm kind of at right now. PoE 2, I don't know if I'm going to buy it. It was fun to play it with friends, but I also was playing it because it was like free and I just wanted to try it. And that's kind of fun. I need to stop thinking about games in that I need to beat this game. And I need to just play the game. Oh my gosh, big lead, buried. I beat Mass Effect 3.
Oh yeah.
How did I forget that?
Yeah.
That was so good. I screwed up. I mean, I don't want to say the spoilers, but I didn't get the perfect ending, the quote-unquote perfect ending. But apparently I could not, with the choice I made, I would not have gotten the perfect ending anyway.
What choice did you make that messed it up?
I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, okay.
Should I spoil it? It's still, I mean, the Legendary Edition just came out.
5 years ago.
Was it 5 years ago?
4 years ago.
Okay. All right. Spoilers, everybody. You've been warned. Skip it if you don't want to hear this or end the episode. Here we go. So I didn't get enough war assets. You need 7,800 because I messed up some decisions when I played and I didn't realize I couldn't go back to certain DLCs or back to certain missions once I did stuff. So I had a bunch of uncompleted missions in my missions list that I couldn't do, which was pretty upsetting. But then on top of that, I chose the synthesis ending where you have to die. Because your body is like synthesized into the crucible and then you're magically sent out to everyone. Very sci-fi. But according to the internet, you can only get the ending where Shepard lives if you choose the destroy ending. And I did not choose that. Because the destroy ending would have killed Edie and it would have killed the Geth, which I just saved.
It destroys like all synthetic life or something?
All synthetic life is killed, yeah. Which I didn't want to do. All right, here's the funny part. I romanced Tally, everyone, not realizing that I killed her on accident the next scene.
Oof.
So I got the Paramore 1 achievement, and then the very next mission, I chose between the Quarians and the Geth, and I chose the Geth, and I killed Tally.
Dang, dude.
Within 20 minutes of the Paramore thing happening. It was so funny. But I wasn't using a guide until, I didn't even look at a guide until I was looking up, war asset stuff, and that's when I realized that I didn't do it properly. Yeah, so, I mean, I might replay it again. I might not. I might just watch the ending. Here's the thing though. I love that game. Like, I'm gonna probably replay it, but I kind of like the idea of waiting like 5 to 10 years and then picking it up again and like then playing it, because you kind of forget, you forget a piece of media, and it's like fun to replay it again.
There's something nice about those games that like I don't necessarily want to like. I want to have the feeling that all the choices mattered, which we can debate on whether or not they do at the end of Mass Effect 3. But like, but yeah, it feels like you need to put some distance between your first playthrough and your subsequent playthroughs, and just see if like you're a different person and make different decisions now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the synthesis ending though, to me, that feels like the true what they were going for Mass Effect ending.
Yeah,
because you sacrifice yourself to make peace among everybody, and that feels right to me.
Yeah,
like that feels like the right ending. I don't know if that's what pissed people off when the game came out. I'm kind of curious, like what made people so mad when the game came out. I think it was just Shepard died. That's what made people mad.
No, there were. Well, I think the thing that made people mad is that there are really only 3 endings.
Oh,
that's it.
Like,
and like
destroy, control, or synthesis.
Yeah, and it's like we just spent 3 games making decisions that you told me were going to mean something, and then at the end, I chose between 3 endings that are not that different from each other, to be honest, right?
Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that, like, when that game first came out, you had to play multiplayer. That was a big mistake. That's a big mistake.
Yeah.
That's like a big. You took this single player game that everyone loved for its being a single player game and forced people to play multiplayer, which is nuts.
And the multiplayer was cool, but it was like, why are you making me do this so that I can see this single player ending? I have to play like that. Just kind of felt bad.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it though. Man, the DLCs were great. Like the Citadel DLC is just so funny. And it feels like Ocean's 11 and Naked Gun had a baby in Mass Effect. And it's so funny. Like, the humor in it is just so off base, like, from the rest of the game. You're like, the writers were just having a good time with it. Mm-hmm. And then the Leviathan DLC is cool because it explains so much lore so quickly that you're just like, this is a huge news drop. And I was like, I was like glued to the screen when he like met Leviathan and was like talking to this thing, and you find out like how long this has been going on for, and just like all that stuff. It was just really neat. And I also got kind of weird like horror game at moments, like when you go to the mining station and everyone's like essentially brainwashed. It's like really neat sci-fi stuff. It was cool. And then I didn't realize it was DLC at the time, but getting the Prothean on your team, Javik, is like very much a DLC thing too. So that was kind of cool. But that was a long spoiler session, but I really enjoyed it. So
good.
I have no regrets.
Yeah, I need to play it again because I played it when it came out on the Wii U. So that was
trying
15 years ago.
Oh yeah, because I'm trying to convince our friends, because you and I bought it at the same time. I still have my hard copy of it over there. Mass Effect Andromeda, not as good of a story, but a vast improvement on the gameplay.
Really? I do need to play that.
And that's what I'm trying to tell people. I'm like, oh, if you liked Mass Effect, you might find it worth playing Andromeda, because the third person shooting in Mass Effect is fine. Like the squad stuff is fine, but I think Andromeda really, like, they give you that jump pack. It just becomes like faster, which is cool. And I really like that. So, yeah. And I know Andromeda, the story, obviously nowhere close to Shepard's story. Yeah, I get it. But it's also not bad. Like, I think it just came out and everyone wanted another Mass Effect.
Yeah,
like,
they just wanted more Shepard. They didn't get it. And they were very, very overly, critical of the game. That's the feeling I get. Anyway, I have played it. I don't know.
It makes me wonder, when we get Mass Effect 4, we're supposed to get Mass Effect 4, what the canon ending in the eyes of the developers is, because they have to pick one of those 3 endings.
True.
To continue Shepard's story. So
it's not the one where Shepard sacrificed himself.
No,
probably. Unless they
probably
we cloned him.
Yeah, it's probably the good ending, quote unquote, where like, but even the good ending is not that good, because you kill Edie and you kill the Geth. So it's like, I don't know. I kind of like games like this though, because it makes you make a choice. There's no right choice.
Yeah.
But it's still really good. Anyway, I went on and on about Mass Effect. I could talk for a whole episode about it, but we won't.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we could. We could.
Not in this moment, but we should.
Yeah. We should. But with that, things you can do to support us. Codex History Podcast. No, codexpodcast.net. I mess it up every time. Codexpodcast.net is our website. codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com is our email address. We have a Discord that you can join through the website, and all our links are there. And with that, Tyler, do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. Now I have to blindly push the button.
That was really good. I couldn't even tell.